If you wait until you get all 8 layers on, you can wind up having a very difficult time getting down to this. The first thing I'm going to do is just round this. All I want to do is, I don't want to take a lot off on it, but I want to round this, and then we'll come in and do this. Always, always, always wear face shield protection. You don't know if one of these things will come flying apart, and there's no use taking a chance on your eyes. And I don't turn this at a real fast speed either. Using a bowl gouge, the first thing I want to do now is make an even circle here. Okay, I round that circle out. I'm going to make single plug. I could put a false bottom in it, which I should do. The next thing I want to do, clean this surface and make sure that it's absolutely flat so that we can glue on the next piece. We don't want any gaps in between, and if it's not level, you will get gaps. One of the things that you can to guard against is rounding this edge over, or this one, it will show. This looks pretty close right now. So what I'm going to do is sand it. When those white marks are gone, it should be level. Now, the best way of doing this, wrap your sandpaper around here like this. Now, I should be using 120 grit. All I get is 150 right here, or 180. So let's try this. Keep your sanding moving. Good. You see all the white marks are gone. And I don't see any light coming up. So this surface is ready to have the next one glued on. There are a number of ways that you can sand the next ring. I've got a drum sander that I could use, and another different sander that I could use too to help. May not have those, so what I would recommend doing, getting out your long chuck here, what we'll do is put the rings in here and do the same thing. This, I'm going to turn this at about 400 revolutions per minute because we don't want to go real fast with this kind of a setup. What I'm going to use is a gouge, bowl gouge, and we're just going to scrape it along the edge here to try to true it up. Okay, you can still see some glue spots here that's got to come out. But that's looking pretty true right now. I hate to do too much more, but okay, I think the next thing that I'm going to do now is sand it. And once again, you have to be very careful so that you don't roll this edge over or I leave a high spot in this one. Now you don't have to do the other side until this is glued on. You glue this on, and let it set, then you'll turn it around and you won't have to use this chuck. Now, because as long as I have it this far, I'm going to take advantage of kind of clip this inside here just a little bit, smooth that up. It'll help when I go to turn later on. I'm going to do this with each ring. I don't know that you need to see repetition, but come back here and smooth this edge up, check it with a ruler, and make sure that there's no light shining in there. Check it several places. You want to do that to make sure that you've got a nice even surface. The next thing I'm doing is just kind of making sure, square that up. Now, It's a lot easier to go in here and mark this with a pencil. Check it like that. Looks pretty good. Then I like to mark the joints. That way it's a lot easier. If you mark the joints now, it's a lot easier to see them. Once you get the glue on, it's pretty tough. Now when you put this under weight, be very careful because they will slide and you can miss a line. Okay, now like I said, I'm utilizing my press here. It's nothing but a black pipe screwed together, and then it's got a iron plate here. You do not have to use that kind of a thing to start out and do your first one. But eventually you may want to build your own form of press. Okay, now we'll let that sit for maybe 10-15 minutes. While I'm waiting for that other ring to dry, I'm going to go out and screw this face up. when I'm turning this, now instead of watching here, what I'm doing is I'm watching the side over here, the way the wood is cut away. That's a lot easier to do it. And I'm not going all the way to the top or the bottom of this ring. Okay, the glue's had a chance now to set up. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to clean this surface off, and then I'm going to take advantage of this, and I'm going to smooth out the rough edges here, because when you get out 6-8 rows like this, it'd be very difficult to get in and get them smooth. And then I'll round this. Okay, we're ready to do a little sanding. Then what I've done is I've taken off the sharp edges in here. This will have a false bottom in here, so I'm going to leave that. But it'll be a lot easier to clean up this edge when we go to do our final turning. Now, I'm holding this very carefully so I don't get my fingers in this. Looks good. Yep. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take this side that we've already done. I'll line it up, glue it just like I did before, and I'll come back and then I'll do this surface, and then just continue building. And as I go, I'm going to cut off these edges and smooth these edges. We've got everything, all the rings glued on now. And what I'm going to do now is go in here, and I'll start here and I'll work this down here and smooth this up and do a little interior, and then I'll come back here and do the final shaping. But it might be a good idea just to stop here and how did we get to this point? I checked out each ring for nice tight fitting joints. Without the tight fitting joints, you're going to have gaps in your bowl and you're not going to be happy. So checked all those. Any that did not fit correctly, and I see one here on this extra ring, this one joint right here, I would take this through the bandsaw and cut this joint right here and the opposite one and go in and sand it. Now, when I do that, this is going to cause this little problem right here. There's going to be misalignment. There's plenty of material here to cut off, so I'm not too concerned about this. Now, this is my bowl. What it's designed for, as you might recall, is a thread bowl. There's absolutely nothing wrong. There's 8 rings here. If you say stopped after 3 rings, you could have a nice little bowl for nuts or a candy bowl or anything like that. So I chose 8 rings for this specific project. You could stop it anywhere. I chose 3/4 of an inch in thickness here. You could, I would recommend doing at least a 1/2 inch thick row on your first bowl. Because once you start gluing these segments together, it's a lot easier to glue it with thread or cord, or hose clamp if you wanted to use hose clamp. Malcolm Tibbetts chooses rubber bands. That's all the pressure you really need to do that. After you glue each ring, then you want to put them in under some sort of weight to keep them flat while they're drying out. I like to use translucent tape bond wood glue. It's got a 10-minute setup time. I don't want to spend a lot of time waiting on glue. If I have to do it overnight, I'll use the original wood glue. I used a disc sander to round the edges. You don't have to. You're going to get a lot more vibration until you get that smoothed off. But now, the next step is to go ahead and do rough turning on this. Right. This is no time to be brave and turning at a fast speed. So you want to turn it at a relatively slow speed until you get the vibration out. Let the vibration be your key. Always use your safety, any safety equipment you have, use it. You might notice I've got an old sweatshirt on and I've got it on backwards to keep the neckline up around here. You may notice there's some chips too that go flying, and I don't want those down my shirt. I should mention too that there's a lot of glue in this, and it's going to dull your tools very quickly, so be sure and keep your tools sharp. Okay, I'm going to do this continually until I get this smooth inside. I've had a little bounce, a little chipping, but that's just a matter of turning. Now what I'm going to do is start sanding, and I'll go through various grits. Oh, that smoothed up real nice. When I started this, I did not have my face mask on, which I should because there's a lot of dust that comes on. I'm still troubled by a little groove right here, so I'm going to go back in with my tool and see if I can't finish this up now. It showed with the sanding. But I do have a dust system, but it doesn't really work on the lathe too well. So I'm going to just take a minute to go back here and see if I can't do a little corrective work on here. The sander that I'm using is just a tool shop, and it's the thing here that I got from Craftsman Supply. And I've got different grits. It's just real easy to put them in there. I'm going to just try something here now. I'm not real happy with the one edge right in here. That one more cut is where you take a bowl and turn it into a funnel by cutting the bottom out someplace. Okay, that looks better, and just a matter of a little smoothing here. I'm going to go to 120. Let's see what we got going for us now. This is denatured alcohol. Now what I'm going to do is, after I've sanded this to about 180, that's all I'm going to do on this, but that's all that's needed. I'm going to hit it with a couple of coats of sanding sealer. And then I'm going to put about 3 coats of this armor sealer on it. Now this is semi-gloss. What I think I'm going to do is start with 2 coats of gloss and then put 1 coat of semi-gloss on it. That's going to take a little while, so at this point, let me just hit this with a sanding sealer. I just wipe it on. Now we've got the finish on. What I did was I put on 2 coats of sanding sealer. Then I put on 4 or 5 coats of high gloss performance. This is water based. And what I did was I just dipped a paper towel in here and just wiped it on and made sure it's kind of smooth. Now, the next thing that has to be done is this is going to be parted off. Then I will cut a round hole in the bottom to finish, make it nice and smooth. And then I will cut a disc and put it in there just for the finishing thing. Now the real danger is cutting it off so that it doesn't, that I don't ruin it. So we're going to start in here. What I'm using is a parting knife. Oops, got my face shield. Now I put too much time and effort in this thing to have it go flying. So it may take a little longer to cut. Okay, it's off, finally. Now I'm going to reverse chuck this, smooth off the bottom, and we'll fill the hole. Okay, I put these longer rubber holders on in order to hold the inside of a bowl, and so that I don't screw up the inside of it, I put blue tape, painter's tape on it. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now I don't want to make this too tight and pull that top ring off. So I think that should do it, okay? Now I'm going to chew up this edge here a little bit. And I've got this on at a slow speed, as slow as I can go. Very carefully. This is not the time to really be real aggressive on your turning either. It bothers me this being so sharp right here, so I think while I've got got it set up like this, and I'm going to round that just a hair. Now we got our hole here. Next thing to do is square that up. There's one. Okay. Now the diameter on this hole is about 2 3/8. So what we'll have to do is turn the plug and put it in there, and we'll be done. I'm going to sand this a little bit, and then I'm going to... now what I'm going to do is put just a little ridge here, a lip, to add for a gluing surface and to help hold the base in. That noise I just heard, it was getting a little loose. Once again, don't tighten it too tight. Okay, now I went over to the bandsaw and cut a little disc. Let's see if it'll fit in here now. You know what I think I'm going to do is just smooth this up just a little bit, and it's a little, it'll be a little loose, but it should be okay. And then it'll look like the groove opening there. So, and then I got to come back in and I'll have to level it up a little bit. What I did, I just roughed up a scrap piece of wood and cut this out on the bandsaw. Now what we're doing is clean up this bottom right here. There we have it. Now what I'm going to do, put a couple more coats sanding sealer on, then I'll put 2 coats of the water base on it and sign it and it'll be done.